Jim has started. So the meeting has officially begun.
Excellent, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday, December 9th, 2020 meeting for the Cultural Affairs Commission. My name is John Werfs. I'm the Commission President. I have dark hair. I'm wearing a dark blazer and a white collared shirt. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm joined by our other commissioners, Commissioner Scrofano, Ho, and Gallardo. And let's dive into our first order of business. Item number 1 on the agenda, Neighborhood Council Representative. There's a Neighborhood Council Representative. Please indicate by either raising your hand virtually, or if you're on the phone joining us, indicate by pressing *6, and Mr. Bay will recognize you. Oh, sorry, *9, raise your hand is *9. Mr. Bay, if there is any, if you'd let me know.
There are no hands raised.
Excellent, there being none, moving on to the second item, public comment on non-agenda items germane to the business of the commission. If you have general public comment, please indicate by raising your hand, pressing *9. Mr. Bay, if you'd let me know if there is any.
None at the moment.
Excellent, there being none, moving on to item number 3, public comment germane to the agenda items. If you have any public comment germane to the agenda items, indicate by raising your hand or pressing *9.
There are none.
Excellent. Our next item of business, item number 4, the approval of the minutes from our October 2020 meeting. If there are any comments, now would be the time, or corrections for anyone. Those would have been distributed. If there is any, is there a motion to approve item number 4, the minutes from the October 2020 meeting? So moved by Commissioner Scrofano and seconded by Gallardo, I believe. Excellent. As we are digital, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. Commissioner Ho, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Gallardo?
Yes.
Commissioner Scrofano?
Yes.
All those indicate, sorry, that's motion carries unanimously, and the minutes have been approved. Moving on to our next item of business. Item number 5, public art projects. This is the Bishop E.L. Holmes Square, or the First Baptist Church of Venice. We're joined today by Ms. Filer from the Public Arts Division. Felicia.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, commissioners. I'm joined by Lisa Cole from Council District 11, who will take you through the project. This item is before the commission because after speaking with the council office about their desire to paint this decorative text on the street, I asked if this was a commemoration of the march that happened there, and the council office confirmed that it was. And given the fact that it was a commemoration and remembering the conversation that we had with the commission a few months ago about the mural on CD 13, where Commissioner Jefferson aptly reminded me and all of us that even commemorative acts need to come before the commission for approval. So erring on the side of caution, speaking with CD 11, I said because this is a commemoration, we will bring this item to the commission for approval. And for the record, I am still in touch with Council District 13, and we anticipate bringing that item back to the commission for retroactive approval. There's one additional set of instructions in the motion that we need to complete, and once we get that resolved, which is the maintenance, we'll come back to the commission to retroactively get approval for that as well.
Excellent. And that's the, just for everyone else's remembrance, it's on Hollywood Boulevard in the 13th District there, just in front of the Hollywood and Highland area / theater, correct?
Yes, and it's the All Black Lives Matter street pavement that was commemorating the march on June 7th in Hollywood.
Perfect.
So we can sort of close the loop on that error. For the record, yes.
Oh, you can see my screen, correct? Am I sharing the right? I just, let me know what you'd like to see. I just pulled this one up. I've got one other image of the photo render. Just let me know, and then I'll pull that up as well.
Oh, okay, I'll just make two notations or corrections to my staff report for the record, and then I'll turn it over to the council office, and then Lisa will take you through the project background. But I'd like the record to reflect that the dimensions of the text will actually be 70 feet long by 10 feet wide, not 20 feet wide. And the intention of the image is to remain in place for 2 years, not 3 years. So I'd like the record to reflect that, and that was just a typo on our part. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Lisa and have her take you through the project background and answer any questions that you may have.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Lisa,
Felicia.
are you with us?
I'm here.
Excellent.
Hi.
Welcome. You could just spell your name for the record for us?
Sure. It's Nisa, N-I-S-A, last name Kove, K-O-V-E.
Excellent.
And before
Is this the right image to take a look at? And if you need another image, let me know. I think I've got one other photo render for you.
This is perfect. This was the rally on.
Nisa, before you start to speak, I just want to make sure the record reflects that Charmaine Jefferson came on in the middle of Felicia's talk. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome.
This was, yes, I will speak about this in my presentation, but thank you for having us here today. Thank you for hearing our project, and I have a bit of storytelling as our presentation. So bear with me a moment as I find that in my screen here. Oh, I also want to introduce, I believe Naomi Nightingale is in the room. Naomi, are you here?
I am here.
Okay, and Naomi is the representative from the Save Venice community organization, and also someone I've been in touch with frequently since I took this position as the Venice field deputy.
Oh,
so
great.
Here we are, and I would love to tell you the story behind why we are requesting this project. When Irving Tabor and Arthur Reese came to the West Coast to help Abbot Kinney change the swampland to what would become Venice of America, they saw scrub, brush, and dreams. They saw opportunity, a start for building a new life for themselves and their families, and above all, their dream of community. Irving Tabor eventually became the chauffeur for Abbot Kinney. Together, the two men, friends, and colleagues developed an ambitious plan that they would, by and large, go on to realize. Part of the plan, what would much later in the mid-90s become known as Oakwood, the Oakwood neighborhood of Venice was the first intentional Black community on the West Coast, specifically because African Americans and people of color were restricted from living in other areas of Venice. Nevertheless, the families came together to build homes, internal governance among themselves, bartering services, businesses, and social clubs to build and support community. This area became the beating heart of the West Side's largest Black community. This neighborhood was built by hand, ambitiously and thoughtfully, of houses, small apartments, and bungalow courts filled with families and children. Oakwood survived Venice's decline, bankruptcy, and annexation by Los Angeles, followed by Black community members pushed out by gentrification and displacement. The centers of the Black community in Venice are in Oakwood. They're around the rec center now, where Glenn Featherstone Field is named after an icon of the community. West Side reunions take place around the tables and grills at the top of the park, keeping alive the spirit of the neighborhood that has existed in Oakwood for generations. Across the street from the field stands the iconic emblem of the community, First Baptist Church of Venice, which has occupied the corners of 7th Street and Westminster Avenue in Venice since 1927. Arthur Reese, a trustee of the board, described the church as a community effort. Quoting Mr. Reese, Mrs. Abbot Kinney, wife of the founder of Venice, donated the lumber for the framing. The Harvey brothers donated the foundation materials, and rock and sand were hauled by the Tabor brothers trucking, end quote. In 2000, continuing the acknowledgement of its community significance, the intersection of 7th Avenue Westminster Avenue was ceremonially dedicated as Bishop E.L. Holmes Square. Holmes served as pastor of the First Baptist Church of Venice for 44 years until his passing on November 12, 1999. A fixture in the Oakwood community of Venice, Bishop Holmes bought and built his home on Brooks Avenue in Oakwood so he could share the daily experience of his parishioners and minister firsthand. In addition to being the spiritual leader, Bishop Holmes was the guiding force in a fundraising campaign to relocate the church from its location across the street to its present site at 685 Westminster Avenue. On Sunday, June 7th, 2020, the photo you were looking at, hundreds gathered at the steps of the First Baptist Church of Venice in response to the murder of George Floyd by the hands of Minneapolis police and in solidarity with the National Black Lives Matter movement. A group of speakers organized by Save Venice Community Organization, thank you, Naomi, for being here, included elders of the local Oakwood neighborhood, Venice school leaders, and community members sharing the pain of their experiences with racial injustice. This protest, in the still beating heart of a still vibrant community, called out for justice, equity, and recognition of their constant perseverance in the face of gentrification and displacement. In partnership with the Save Venice Community Organization, we humbly ask the Commission to approve the proposed Black Lives Matter street mural on the proposed location of Westminster Avenue near 7th Avenue. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Nisa. And now Naomi, if I'm not mistaken, did Naomi have some words to say for us? Let's see, is Naomi here with us?
I think Naomi, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nisa, for that that presentation, which really captures the essence of what we are wanting to have happen today. First Baptist Church of Venice is in fact the anchor of our Venice community. And as you see all those people in this, what's on your screen, standing around there on that day, it just made it more significant that First Baptist Church would be the meeting place for this kind of gathering to talk about justice and equality and equity and the absence of discrimination in our policies and our democratic processes as we go forward. First Baptist Church means all of that to us in the community and for many people who don't live here, but who know this church for what it has stood for since the early 1900s when the Reese and the Tabor families came as pioneers to settle in this community. What you cannot see in this photo is the cross that raises high in the air that has a neon sign that says First Baptist Church. And that is a beacon to many people in the community to know that we're still here, that we still are prospering in the community, and that First Baptist Church is still the home for people to come to where they had an opportunity to work in spirit and in community for the good of the entire community. So thank you all very much. And this is what we're looking forward to seeing on the street there in front of First Baptist Church, also continuing to commemorate Bishop E.L. Holmes Square.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Naomi, and thank you, Nisa, for that background. And then let's see, is there some discussion? Sorry, I just wanted to reiterate for the record again, Ms. Filer, the dimensions were 70 by, was it 10 you said, and not 20?
70 by 10, correct. And
Got
the numbers of years it will be up are 2 years. And just, you know, for the record, this is a decorative street paving design, and it's not a mural. This one literally was not designed by an artist.
And it looks as though it'll be installed by a professional street paving company as identified by Bureau of Street Services, so that it'll be compliant with all the regulations that are for street paving and whatnot.
That's correct.
Excellent. All right, is there any questions from my fellow commissioners? Just due to the nature of the digital, I will just kind of randomly pick commissioners. If you have something to say, please, or questions, and then we'll work our way through. Commissioner Jefferson. And I don't know if you might be on
my
mute.
finger wasn't on the button. Thank you, and thank you as well, Ms. Cole, for the presentation of the background. I've passed this site many times and know a lot of people who've worked on this to preserve the significance of this site. So thank you very much. Excited to see it happen. Thank you.
Excellent. And Commissioner Ho.
I second Commissioner Jefferson's comment. I just love seeing that it exists. So thank you.
Excellent.
And thank you so much for the additional background on it. It was very informative.
Yeah, I had no idea about Oakwood. That was good. Commissioner Gallardo.
Thank you all for the effort around this. I had a question. For Felicia, I believe it goes to. How is the duration? How do you come about determining the length of time something like this stays up for?
I think I'll have to turn that over to NISA. That was a decision that was made with the council office and the community.
Got it.
So NISA, if you could respond to that.
Yes, that's a perfect question. I was going to clarify this anyway for the record. The 2 years is actually the amount of time that the vendor guarantees it to last. So it's very likely that it could last much longer than that, especially because it's not on a main street. This is not a very, it's used, but not as frequently as 7th, which is going the other direction. So we don't know exactly how long it will last, but it is guaranteed to last for those 2 years. And we're hoping it would go beyond that and that we can maintain it when we come to that point.
Understood. Thank you so much. No further questions. Glad to see this message throughout our city.
Yeah. And Commissioner Scarfano, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I want to thank you all. This is a great public art piece, and I think it's much needed. And Nisa, thank you for your background information. I want to replay everything you said because I think it was so fascinating. I have one question. It's like two minor. Well, actually, I have two questions. One is the location of the text, is it going to be in the center of the street, or is it going to be kind of how you've overlaid it where it looks like it's at an angle?
It will be straight.
Okay.
So parallel with the curbs. Yes, sorry, it's not perfectly shown there. It will be straight and it will be in the center as to avoid cars parking on either side. And it's very likely we can be extending one of the red curbs just a bit so that a car does not park over the mural itself.
Great. I think it'd be really powerful in the center. I also, are they painting? Do you know how they're applying the material? This is just a question, not a comment, but is it actually going to be paint, or is it a surface that will be sort of cut into the concrete?
No, it's an application, I think very similar to the way that LADOT puts down their lines, which is why it lasts for the amount of time that it lasts. But I would have to get you all the technical application information after this meeting if you would like to.
No, it's fine. Just the fact that it's painted, so it's similar to the stripes. No, I think the project's wonderful, and
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a poly DecoCoat polymer specification that was included in the board packet. So it's like your typical, you see like the paint line material that's there. So it's, yeah. Any other questions or comments, Commissioner
John,
Scapano?
can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
John is Charmaine. Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I want to have clarity. So this is considered a sign and not an artwork. On that first slide that you guys showed us, I think there was it said Beechwood on it or something like that.
Let me see if I can pull that up for you.
Can you just flip?
Yep.
A second? Is that? I'm sure I'm messing everything up.
No, not at all. Let me just pull it up real quick. It was just, I accidentally closed it. So let me pull it up. There we go. All right.
And the question I was going to ask really was, so if they had chosen to put that Beechwood logo on the street in the same exact spot, would that have then been a mural?
Beachhead.
Beachhead, sorry.
Actually, I think this is coming to us. I mean, Ms. Tyler, this is
the Beachhead is a local newspaper.
Right. So I'm sorry. I just was using it as an example. Let's just decide that you wanted to put something on the street that had that kind of a look to it, and it was indicative of the site that you're commemorating. Would that then have been seen as a mural as opposed to the sign like what we have now?
So your question is to Ms. Filer, right?
And what's causing me to ask the question has more to do with the idea of that 2 years from now, when it's time for it to go away, but the site itself is still a historic site. I could envision the community wanting something to replace it.
Oh, Charmaine, you froze. I can try to answer the first question. So this is coming to the commissioners not as a sign, but as a decorative street pavement. And so it's not subject to the city's sign codes or sign ordinances. And in terms of the length of time that that the image will stay up, while as Lisa indicated, the manufacturers indicates that the paint system should last for at least 2 years. If it goes up beyond that 2 years, or if the image stays up beyond that 2 years, the paint system holds up, then if there's community desire, then the image will remain up. I think that's one of the reasons why it is also a secondary reason why it's coming to the commission. So at least there's a record of what the intention was, but if it stays up longer, then that we have this item on the record. We've been noticing that there have been other sort of temporary art installations that have been erected on city property and have ended up staying for much longer than the original time span. So I think the approval by the commission today gives some assurance of that, the protection of that, if that is something that the community desires.
Excellent. Does that clear up your questions, Commissioner Jefferson? I think you might still be, I don't know if you're on mute. Yes, you are. Are you, Commissioner Jefferson, anything else? Okay. I think the only other question I had was just to ask it's just going to be the letters themselves. The black that we're seeing here is actually representative of what the asphalt would be underneath, or is there actually going to be a black field painted in the middle of the street?
The intention is to have the black behind it so that it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the intention.
Okay. So this is representative of it. It'll be a black box, and I'm assuming because it's a smaller street, it doesn't have to have the lane dividers. So you'll just see the yellow letters on that black field, about 10 feet high, plus or minus. Excellent. Great. Well, if there's no other additional questions, I would entertain a motion to approve item number 5, the Bishop E.L. Holmes Square decorative street pavement. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Gallardo and Commissioner Scrifano as a second. If there's any additional discussion items, now is the time. There being none, I will do a roll call vote. Commissioner Scrifano, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Gallardo?
Yes.
Commissioner Ho?
Yes.
Commissioner Jefferson? Commissioner Jefferson?
Yes.
Excellent. Motion carries. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing this installed there. And yeah, we'll see you then. Thank you much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our next item of business, item number 6A is in Alpha, Terminal 6 Redevelopment Program, Alaska Airlines. Mr. Avanesian, if you'd like to do a quick introduction, and then I believe we're joined by Austin Rivers and Danilo Morales as well.
And also Daniel Sneed.
Oh yes, of course.
Project manager.
Mr. Sneed, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And Mr. Sneed, well, whomever is going to lead the discussion, let me know which file you would like to have presented first, and I would be happy to throw it up on the screen.
Okay, the first file that we presented will be the LAX Terminal 6 Redevelopment Program, Alaska Airlines.
Perfect, coming right up.
And thank you, everyone. I'm Daniel Sneed. I'm a consultant with LAWA assisting with this project. Austin Rivers will be taking over as part of the presentation. He'll be describing the project. LAWA has reviewed this project, and we feel it is consistent with the LAX design guidelines. And from there, I will turn it over to Austin Rivers.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you, Daniel.
And Mr. Rivers, just to confirm, you can see the presentation there?
Yes, we can. And I
Excellent. And then when you just want to, yeah, when you want me to advance, just say next slide, and I'll take care of it for you.
Okay. And then I also have my associate Jessica Baker with me as well. She'll be part of the presentation.
Excellent. Jessica, is it just for the record, as it sounds, Jessica Baker, Baker?
That's correct.
Hello.
Great.
Can I say something?
Oh, yes, of course.
That doesn't look like Austin Rivers.
I think you might think of my father, Steve Rivers.
Oh, sorry. My God, I'm confused. Oh my God.
Okay. This is proof positive of just how much history and depth of knowledge the department has. Intergenerational is what it is.
Very true.
It's good to see you, Ruth.
Thank you, sorry.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for having us. So we're here, as mentioned, to present the Alaska Airlines T6 redevelopment program at LAX. With Rivers and Christian, the architect of record for the program. And today we are requesting concept and final approval for the program. We've prepared a brief presentation to kind of walk you through the scope and design elements for your consideration. Next slide, please. I apologize, next slide. Thank you. So the project is located at LAX. It's part of the south side of the central terminal area. It's located at the existing Terminal 6, which is outlined with the red dashed box. The existing facilities are shown in gray on this image, and the expansions proposed as part of this program are indicated in green. Now, as you'll notice, this is not a full terminal renovation like some of the other programs that you may have seen recently coming through from LAX. This is a more modest expansion focused really at the concourse building, which is on the air side of the terminal. There's no work in the head house that aligns across the roadway at Worldway West. Next slide, please. So very briefly, the purpose of this program is to improve efficiency and functionality in order to improve guest experience within the terminal. And by doing so, replacing some of the aging infrastructure and enhancing operations while we make those improvements. The program is kind of a reaction to the existing conditions of the terminal, as well as the implementation of the automated people mover terminal core, which is an adjacent project that's being implemented by LAWA. The scope elements include hold room expansion and reconfiguration, a bus gate ramp that provides ADA access for passengers between the aircraft parking level and the concourse level, as well as secure circulation elements, including some vertical circulation, stairs, escalators, elevators, to connect passengers from the concourse level at the international gates to the existing Customs and Border Patrol facilities already existing at the arrivals level, as well as a secure corridor that connects the concourse circulation area back to that new APM core that's being developed. As the project is located in the CTA at LAX, we are required to follow the LAX Design and Construction Handbook, including the LAX Design Guidelines, which the Cultural Affairs Commission approved back in April 2017. We've been working really closely with LAWA through the development, planning, and design phases of this program to ensure that the design approach maintains the cohesion that's desired at LAX, that fits in with the existing infrastructure and implements new design where appropriate that is in compliance with the LAX guidelines. Next slide, please. I should mention the design approach for this is really to utilize materials that match or complement the existing palette and follow those guidelines. And design attributes include simplicity, consistency, horizontal massing, transparent glazing, and neutral colors that are really required and expanded upon in those LAX design guidelines. And then in the next slides,
just to orient everybody, the air side is to the right, and then worldway is on the, oh, there it is. The roadway is on the left, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, so this plan's been rotated. Essentially what we have here is this is level 2. We've omitted level 1, baggage claim. We don't have any work in the baggage claim, so we didn't provide any background. So the next 2 slides will really show the major portions of the building that we're impacting. This one being the departure level. It's also the where the aircraft are, and it's mainly behind the scenes functionality. You've got baggage claim, and as you can kind of see in the upper right-hand corner is majority of the area that we're introducing. And really what the function of the upper right-hand corner is to provide ADA access for a busing operation. Currently, right now, there is no very perceived path of travel for ADA when you're offloading from an aircraft, and essentially they have to take them to another side of the terminal. So pieces that we were able to do is put in a full ADA, which then mixes non-ADA and ADA passengers together to have access to the terminal and the ramp. And then the silver lining is we were also able to straighten out the FIS corridor, which is the connection to the FIS, and it also has a connection to the bus operation. So it provides the terminal much needed flexibility. One last thing I would like to note is on the lower left-hand corner is the another project that we're working consistently with, and I believe this has already been through the board and approved. It's the terminal APM core, and this is essentially where passengers come on the train and get introduced into the buildings. Next slide, please. Now, this is the concourse level. This is essentially, if you've ever flown out of Terminal 6, this is where most of the public is housed prior to the aircraft. And as I mentioned in the last slide, on the far left in that pinkish color is what we're calling the kind of the plane to train in the APM core. And a piece of when this project was introduced, it starts, you need a connection back into the concourse, and which is highlighted there kind of on number 5. And what that did is it started eating and eroding away some of the existing hold room space. So as part of the project, we needed to increase the square footage of the hold rooms to put back the passenger experience. So when you're flying, you're not in condensed hold rooms. And then just a quick note on the upper right, that's the extension of the FIS corridor that we talked about. The red hatched areas are the areas that we're having to remove of the building to allow for the proper bus to access the terminal. Next slide, please. This is a roof plan. So we wanted to give some context of existing conditions since we are adding new pieces. The intent of what we're doing is in all areas of additions, we want to match the existing building. We're not looking to change any of the view sites from the tower. And then again, we also threw on the reference point of the new APM core, just so you had a reference of the height variation between the brand new project that's being done in our project. Next slide, please. To further that, here's a few sections. The upper section is essentially, we're looking north. The green box is the new addition of the hold room space, which is right by, it's kind of closer to the head house. And as you can see, the roof plane is just being extended. The floor plane is being extended. And down on the ramp level, we're keeping that open for maintenance and operational needs on the ramp. On the lower section, on the right-hand side, that is our new vertical core, which essentially takes you from the concourse, if you're an international inbound domestic traveler, that takes you down and puts you into the FIS corridor that we're expanding. Next slide, please. Just to give you some context, we wanted to throw in some existing photos. We've given you both the east and west elevations of the existing building, so you have a sense of how the existing building looks, the different materialities between the existing conditions. We've added the red boxes to kind of show you the two areas of where we're expanding. The upper portion is where that FIS corridor is, and then the lower portion is where the hold room expansion is. One thing we just wanted to point out is this terminal has been built and extended over years. It's probably had about 5 or 6 major projects that's done to the building. And one of the things we're trying to do working with LAWA is unify and not add new visual vocabulary to the building. So one of the things at the earlier stages is we identified there's a lot of use of metal panels, black tinted windows, concrete, and stucco on the existing building. Next slide, please.
All right, so this is the west side of the building, the connector expansion. The upper image is a rendered view of the existing conditions, and the lower image is our proposed design. So as you will see, the massing is horizontal, kind of matching the horizontality of the existing language of the existing building. The heights, as Austin noted, kind of match the existing conditions that are really dictated by the functions required at each of the levels. The expansion is quite simple. It's essentially on this side a rectilinear box. And we just wanted to note in these images and all the subsequent images, we have turned off the passenger boarding bridges, the corridor, and the equipment it used to get onto the aircraft because it blocks the view of the elevation.
Right. So no jet bridges, they would be probably in the foreground taking up the whole
Exactly. There wouldn't be much to talk about if we had those on. And we just wanted to note that the only signage included in the program is actually located on those boarding bridges. It's just a typical gate number sign that's part of the equipment package there.
Great.
So next slide, please. So this slide shows that same proposed rendered view with the materials that are designed for the program. So this exterior facade consists of a curtain wall system with glazing to maximize natural daylighting in the hold room public area, with metal panels where appropriate to mask the slab, roof line, other equipment. Below are concrete columns that support the new massing. Those are painted white to match the existing conditions. There is an air handling unit on the roof, and that is fully screened with a metal mechanical screen. Each of those components are taken directly from the LAX design guidelines in terms of the material that's proposed, the color, the specifications directly from the guidelines. And then we'll also note that the only other new element in this is the exterior egress stairs, which are all metal stairs painted white, again, to match existing conditions.
And just as a, oh, sorry, I'm just going to remind our commissioners that, yeah, back in, I think it was 2017, we had reviewed a lot of these materials such that there would be a palette and a guideline, set of guidelines for architects to just implement. I think most, if not all, the commissioners were there at that time, but it was already all approved. And assuming you're saying this is all just pulled from that, so it's all been it shouldn't come as a surprise to see any of these materials.
So next slide, please. So this is another rendering of the other side, and this is where that FIS corridor is. This is a combination of what we're calling the south satellite and the original satellite. So in the upper portion of the screen is the existing conditions. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see there's ribbon windows that are horizontal, and they're kind of ended capped with solid masses. And then to the right is the original building, which was from 1959. In a sense, it has punched out vertical kind of elements where the glass is introduced. And from a design point, this was one of the trickier pieces for us because we were essentially adding in a new vertical core. And one of the elements we were working on is keeping the horizontal glazing to die at these masses. So as you transition the materials, you always have that mass to relate to the existing building of how the panels are ending. And then to the right, we have added in the new bus canopy, and we're using the same metal panels to coat the exit stairs so that we're not introducing more elements into the terminal. Slide, please. And as Jess previously talked about, there are the same materials that are being applied on the other side of the terminal. We have the metal screen for the mechanical unit, the same glazing, the white metal panels. Now the new items that we've added to this elevation is stucco, concrete, and some black glazing. And these elements are what's at the existing satellite, and where we have a little bit of area where we need to infill, we are matching those existing materials so it's still cohesive to the building and the transitions. Next slide, please. And with that, that's our presentation. Again, we are here to ask for conceptual and final approval, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Excellent.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yep. Yes, please.
Before they take it off the screen, can you go back one slide?
Let's see. This one?
That one. So this is the new design, correct?
Correct.
So if you look over here, it's just this part of it, because there's two sides to the terminal.
Right.
This is just this
So
portion.
this new design, gets you, what's the improvement?
Sure. So there are two main elements of improvement here. So one is the bus ramp, exactly where the arrow is. And what that provides is ADA compliant circulation path to connect passengers from the aircraft ramp and busing operations back up into the hold rooms in the terminal. And then the second function is the vertical circulation element. So we got an escalator, stair, tube elevators in that component that serve the same function that is there today to connect international passengers from the concourse level down to the Customs and Border Patrol Federal Inspection Station, but in a much more efficient manner. And what that allows us to do is have a little bit more hold room space inside where those functions used to be, so that there's an improved passenger level of service. We can put more chairs.
So when essence, and I asked the question because if you go back to the original design, and not this one, but the visual picture of the existing site, or see how it curves. In essence, the new design becomes much boxier.
That's correct.
But if I'm understanding, you have where you lose the kind of curvature and the sort of odd, strange modernness of the LAX, it becomes much boxier and a lot less architecturally distinctive, but I assume you could not have gotten what you needed on the inside and maintained that architectural look about it.
That's correct. We're quite limited in terms of space. So we have the aircraft parking area where the aircraft are, which is it's a quite congested area that's really maximized to serve those aircraft. And then obviously beyond that is the taxiway and runway system. So we are very limited trying to squeeze these elements into the small amount of space that we have, while not, imposing further on the limited hold room space that's already in that building where you see that curved area. So it's maintaining the hold room space and
thank you
those elements. Thank you.
All right, let's see. I'll take it back to here. We can see a little before and after. Mr. Evanesian, any additional comments from you? You feel like this confident that this has met the requirements for both a conceptual and final approval submittal?
Yes, sir. Thank you. The materials are following the guidelines, materials that you've all seen. They've been presented. And I just wanted to say that Rivers and Christian, they're specialists in the LAX design. They've, from the first days that I joined Cultural Affairs 29 years ago, his father and the partner, Mr. Christian, they came to present, and this late day, the son, his name Austin and Steve, they have that ST sound. I got confused. So I'm senior moment there. I'm sorry. But yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend approval. They know the LAX in and out, from up and down, all angles, and they've been working with the city and the LAWA for like at least 3 decades that I know.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, with that said, I will go through our list of commissioners and solicit any questions or comments. If there are none, that's quite all right. I'll start with Commissioner Jefferson. Commissioner Jefferson? Are you, I will assume that there is none. Commissioner Ho?
No comments.
Great. Commissioner Gallardo?
It seems in alignment with the guidelines. No questions or comments.
Great. Commissioner Scrifano?
The design looks like it appears to meet all the guideline requirements. I just have one question for you. We're reviewing this just for the exterior envelope, correct?
Correct. And it's conformance with the guidelines that we had previously approved.
Got it. So just for the record, there's
yes, I'm having no issue. Yes.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? I didn't hear what you said.
Commissioner Jefferson? Oh, I think she was saying she had some. Oh, we haven't voted quite. We haven't voted just yet.
Yes.
So yes, we can hear you, Commissioner Jefferson. Commissioner Scrifano, yes, we're reviewing for the general conformance with the previously approved guidelines and materials, and for lack of a better phrase, the way that it meets the public realm.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep. I just like to give a comment to the team. I know how difficult.
You didn't hear me. My answer is yes. I'm having a Zoom connect problem. I'm going to call in.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I know how difficult some of these guidelines can be, so glad to see that you guys were able to make this one work. and extremely excited to see all of the improvements at LAX. So that being said, if there's no additional discussion items, is there a motion to approve item number 6A, the Terminal 6 redevelopment program for Alaska Airlines?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Ho and seconded by
I'll second.
Commissioner Scrifano. Is there any additional comments or questions or discussion of the item? There being none, I will do a roll call vote, and I will start with Commissioner Scrifano. How do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Gallardo?
Yes.
Commissioner Ho?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jefferson? Commissioner Jefferson? I think we may have to wait for her to weigh in on this one. Sorry, this is a procedural 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. The power of the internet. Well, I will, let's see, if I 1, 2, 3, 4, I will be the fourth vote for that. City Attorney, we've got 4 votes from present commissioners. That's a quorum, and the majority of the commission itself. There not being any other procedural snafus, I can assume that we pass the motion with the folks that have been here and able to cast a vote. Not hearing any objection from the City Attorney's office, I will move forward with that. Oh, there we go. Commissioner Jefferson voted yes as well. You have a unanimous, the motion carries. Item 6.
Yes, I said yes.
Thank you. We've got you. And
yes.
So congratulations. Thank you. We look forward to seeing all these improvements.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you. And moving on to item number 6B as in Bravo, the AT&T small cell above ground facility, CYLA 2-024, so aptly named. Mr. Avanesian, any introduction to our friends Chris Lee or Jeremy Siegel for this one?
This is my favorite project.
Is it?
Yes.
Why is that? Should I pull up the simulations first or the drawings first?
Simulation, I think it would be enough for this one. I was kidding about being my favorite, but I worked with the applicant for a few months, back and forth, and they said this is all they can do for this project, and he will present it and ask your questions about the antennas and the types and all that.
Okay, and who will be speaking with first? And
Jeremy Siegel.
Yeah, good.
Mr. Siegel.
Yeah,
hello.
I'm online. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Excellent.
Right,
welcome.
Great.
Let me pull up the simulations here. That should probably be the best for it. Let's see. Are you able to see that?
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. And Jeremy, when you need me to advance to the next slide, just say so, and I will.
Yeah, good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Jeremy Siegel. As Harut had mentioned, we've been working together for several months, and I'm here on behalf of AT&T Mobility. And AT&T is having significant coverage issues, and you can't see it in this photo simulation, but there is a tunnel that is on Sepulveda Boulevard that goes below Mulholland Drive. And the goal of this new installation would be to provide seamless wireless and data coverage through this tunnel that goes under Mulholland Drive. We did an exhaustive candidate search. Obviously, our first initial attempt was to co-locate on the existing BSL streetlights that you see in the photographs. We were turned down by BSL due to the type of streetlight. There are davit poles that we cannot co-locate, and we cannot replace to accommodate our equipment. We had a couple different designs that we had in mind, and we tried to work with Harut on that. If you look down the street there on the proposed view, you can see a existing pole to your right of your cursor that has an antenna on top of it. It's just to the right of your cursor on the same side of the road. There you go. A little more, to your right, to your right.
To the right? Oh,
yeah,
this thing right here.
So that's a slimline wood pole with an antenna on top, and ideally that's what AT&T would like to install as well, obviously for the visual impact. However, the issue here is, as you flip around and drive down Sepulveda, if we went at the top of the pole, we would not be able to service that tunnel as it dips down into the topography. So we came up with a design that is about a 3-foot standoff arm, and it's right there, the wood pole that you can see, with a 2-foot antenna canister. So it's a very small antenna. It is 3 feet off the wood pole, and that will provide the coverage necessary to service that tunnel. And I'm happy to answer questions. I know Harut had some design issues, and some there you can see the tunnel. That's a good view.
Can I ask my question now?
Sure.
If your antennas are much lower, why do you have to have the pole that high and have to hold it from the top with those anchors?
Well, the anchors are the anchors are probably most likely to be determined by DWP. We don't know yet if they'll be required or not. We're thinking they will be due to soil conditions, but we don't know the answer to that. Those are just guy wires holding the pole up. In terms of the length, we might be able to bring it down a little bit. We'll have to investigate that, but I don't think we're going to be able to go below 34 feet in pole just due to the foundation.
Interesting.
You can't make it shorter because of the foundation?
Well, that's something we will investigate.
Okay. And is there any other additional questions, Mr. Evanesian?
No.
And if I'm correct here, the approval requested is both conceptual and final?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I will open it up to comments and questions from my fellow commissioners first. Let me start down the list. Commissioner Jefferson.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm on my phone. So I can see you, but my computer is off, so it doesn't feedback. So I have my question is, if you're having this problem, are the other carriers having this problem? And in order to solve this problem, are we going to need to pile a bunch of poles up at the entrance?
Well, the good news
of the
is
tunnel?
The other carriers are already there, and I'm trying. Let me pull up. I have some photographs of some of their designs, which down Sepulveda near the tunnel, that are actually a little more. I don't think you can see them in these photo simulations. I'm just trying to pull it up. They have even more equipment than AT&T's proposing, but there are, I believe, their Sprint and Verizon are located down Sepulveda with their own small cell sites, right near where AT&T is proposing to locate. Is there any way you can give me control of the screen so I can put up a picture, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How do I do that?
Let me. Actually, I may just have to get Mr. Bay involved, if possible.
This will show you like how the other carriers are covering the tunnel.
Let's see, Mr. Siegel. Let's see if I can. Definitely not that one. Mr. Bay, is there the ability for Mr. Siegel to share his screen? I don't know that I have the ability to do that.
Let me make him co-host.
Excellent, thank you. While we're, let's put a pin in that one for a moment. Oh, Commissioner Jefferson, were there some additional questions?
Well, I mean, it could be that the question is, no matter what, within a certain square footage, we already have the maximum number of poles. So if something else comes up, this is it. And then my question is kind of like, okay, then this is it. If it's a possibility that there's going to be more problems with more companies with poles, and then there's probably an entirely different discussion that needs to be had about how many poles can fit in a square inch and what should they look like up against what's supposed to be a natural looking hillside.
Yeah, right.
That looks pretty poley as it is. So
yeah, and Mr. Evanesian, if
that's
I'm
not
correct,
AT&T's fault.
No. Mr. Evanesian, if I'm correct, the AGF ordinance would govern the amount of these above ground facilities within, the number within a certain block or whatever, and it seems like we're probably getting close to the maximum that would be allowed in this area. So this probably is going to be the last bite at the apple.
Let me know if you can see my screen. But did that work? Let me see. Hold on.
No.
How about now?
Just want to remind commissioners that the board's authority on this is just limited to the design of the poles and not placement.
Yep.
Can you guys
and
see that now?
Not what?
Not placement.
Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the existing horizon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before you say that, before you go on, can I just make the following comment?
Sure.
The design of the pole, in the context in which it sits, are not any more separable than the design of a mural and the context in which it sits. And the conversations in the past have included where is the pole and how many poles are near it, and what does the design of it look like in the context of everything else around it. So I'm not so much questioning whether or not there should be poles. I'm just looking at trying to understand the design of the pole and the density of the poles within the square footage in order to understand if the design is sufficiently appropriate. So I just wanted to make sure that I was on the record for what it was I'm trying to ask about.
Okay, thank you. Got it. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So here's an existing T-Mobile pole. You can tell they have multiple antennas facing down Sepulveda both ways. I'm hoping you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
So this is I'd say this is a little more visually obtrusive design as opposed to ours. We just have one standoff arm that's about 3 feet long with a 2-foot canister where you can't see, the antenna really. But here's the look down that tunnel, and AT&T will be, I think, in between the second 2 light poles there. So obviously, there are a lot of poles down here, and then here we go. So there we go. So that's how the other carrier is covering the tunnel.
So, okay. Any other questions, Commissioner Jefferson?
No, thank you.
Let's see, moving on to Commissioner Ho. Commissioner Ho?
Yeah.
It's like
I'm
hashtag of 2020. I'm on mute. Sorry.
I am here. I think the design to ask for conceptual and final for me is problematic. Final because there is an outstanding request from Harut or a conversation about what more can be done for this poll. And I don't think that conversation has been exhausted. Just to come to the commission and say, hey, we'll try this out and see if we'll get final, I don't think represents the intention of working with staff yet. So that's my concern. I'd like to hear from the rest of the commission, but to ask for conceptual and final when there's clearly unresolved concerns is not in the spirit of what I believe we're trying to do for the design.
Yeah.
And I do think it is different. I think the design of it, the other poles, I hadn't seen it, but the balance, it feels more balanced. This one does not. So that's where I stand right now. I'd like to hear the rest of my fellow commissioners.
Excellent. Commissioner Gallardo.
Goodness. So I guess now that I heard Commissioner Ho's comment, I just want to clarify that what we're looking at for consideration is the base of that or the entire base and arm?
The whole thing you're looking at right here. You see this pole and its accoutrement that are apparently, I can't tell if they're in tension or in compression, but apparently there's some bracing elements that I don't know why DWP would approve them, but apparently DWP is involved for structural purposes.
Right, as they bring they're going to bring an overhead power line to the pole, and they may require it to be braced. So we don't know the answer to that question yet, and in terms of the guy wires, but they're very thin.
Can you just point to which?
What was the question again?
The question is, I need to clarify what it is we're looking at exactly, because I have had the materials, thought I was looking, I considered one thing, but now it's this brown, thank you. Okay.
The brown steel pole with a steel armature and the antenna item itself, and then the, I'm assuming tension cables that tie it back to some foundation piece into the earth there. So the design of it, yes, that's what we're looking at. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me?
And yes, your name for the record, please.
Oh, Bardo Osorio with Yukon Group. I'm a co-worker of and colleague of Jeremy Siegel. And I've worked on this project in the past with Harut. So to answer some of the questions from the commission.
Oh no, it's a wood utility pole, sorry.
It's a class 4 wood utility pole. And to answer some of the questions regarding the heights and the discrepancies in height between the antenna and the height between the pole, and why there's so much difference, or why we can't bring or get a shorter pole in there, has to do with what Jeremy just mentioned about bringing overhead power to the pole to feed the facility. And so in bringing overhead power to the top of the pole, we do have to maintain certain separations that are mandated by General Order 95 of the California Public Utilities Code. And so we typically want to maintain anywhere between 6 to 9 feet between our equipment and any kind of power lines. The other is what Jeremy said, as far as when AT&T requests that we do look for candidates that are viable for construction, they do give us a radius center where they would like the antenna so that it can properly propagate a signal in the line of sight. So in this case, as Jeremy touched on, that they want to propagate a signal through that tunnel. And for us to move that antenna any higher, it probably wouldn't work for that signal to stay in line of sight. And again, the pole, we have to keep it at that height of 34 feet above grade level.
Yeah,
because of that.
Mr. Osorio, I don't mean to cut you off. I don't think anybody's got an issue with the height and the engineering of the, I think we're focused on just the design part of it. So I think we understand why it is where it is. Our issue's not with that at all. Yeah.
So, well, yeah, and I'm touching on that because I know that Harut had mentioned that the commission would prefer to see a pole top design to have the antenna on top of the pole. And the answer is that we cannot have the pole top design because we have to bring overhead power to the facility. In order for us to bring underground power.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, in order for us to bring underground power, LADWP would require for us to install an above ground meter pedestal, which we absolutely want to avoid. So if there's availability to bring overhead power from an existing utility pole, which is across the street, and avoid placing yet another above ground facility, that would be the best option. So in this case, like I said, we went back to AT&T, we went to DWP and see what infrastructure was available, utilities that were available, and what can be done. And in this case, this design with the cross arm and the antenna at that height was our best viable option.
Great.
Hopefully that helped.
Mr. President, can I ask a question?
Yes, Commissioner Jefferson. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Gallardo.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would like to finish. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Yvonne.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. We sort of got sidetracked before you, Commissioner Jefferson. Thank you. To the point of Commissioner Ho's point, where the possibilities or options have not been presented to the commission, I would definitely not want to vote on final. And I feel I need those explorations, possibilities, options to even make a decision about conceptual. To the point that was just made about above ground facilities. I mean, I think we've seen better looking above ground examples than what we're looking at here. So my comment.
I mean, ultimately, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the question before us is, do we approve the design as it's been shown to us? So at the end of the day,
yeah,
the design is
it would be no, unless you bring back some other options. This is the lack of uniformity is just, I think, really not something that I can vote on.
Understood. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So now can I just ask
Jefferson?
The follow-up is, and it's kind of along the line of where Yvonne was, but the idea that the things in the sky might be preferable to the box on the ground in terms of being able to get power to that pole.
You're talking about the meter being on the pole instead of the meter being on the ground.
Exactly. Right, because if I'm understanding this correctly, this particular design relative to how you get the electricity to the design, to the pole, which is triggering both the height as well as the design of the way that it sticks out, means you have the stick out and the wires. Whereas if you have the stick out, but you wouldn't have the wires because you put the design and the power coming from the bottom of the pole, this is where I think Commissioner Gallardo is talking about, and this issue of options. And I think that's to some extent where I was coming from, particularly when I first heard the issue about the height and why you couldn't make it shorter. At first, I didn't get it because it didn't physically, in my physics class, it didn't seem to make sense. But I understand it from your other reasons. But if there is another design, or is it that you chose not to do a box design because that's an actually more costly approach for AT&T than the approach that has the wires coming to the top of the pole?
Excellent. Commissioner Scrofano?
Yes, I don't feel comfortable at all approving this on a conceptual level or a final level. This might be probably one of the worst presentations I've seen in my tenure as a commissioner. None of us even knew it was a wood pole. You need to come before us with actual drawings, which you sort of presented after the fact. We need some idea of the materiality of these. And, this photo is so blurry. I just don't feel comfortable approving conceptual even. So I think you need to start over.
And yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I would say that would contradict anything that was said by my fellow commissioners. So we're at a juncture here where Mr. Evanesian, we can continue the item or we can give it an up or down vote. My guess is that the up or down vote on it may not be favorable for the applicant. Mr. Evanesian, what would you like us to do from a staff perspective?
Thank you for asking. I don't know. This is my last meeting with the commission, and I won't be here next year, January. So whatever you decide, it's up to you. All I can say, what I can say is this picture. You say they say it's blurry and it's very dark and everything. But one thing is very, very clear in this picture. Look at the count. How many huge utility poles, DWP poles there are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That area, this one pole in the whole landscape, it's going to disappear amongst all those. I mean, because it's in front of us for review, and we were really paying attention and really pinpointing this one. But when you look at the general, there's no houses that it's facing. It's just the cars are passing really fast in there, and there's greenery, and there's all those huge poles there with all the wires. And I mean, if this one was a little more snug or a little shorter or whatever, to me, it doesn't really matter that much. If you don't want to approve it or want to approve it, it's up to you guys, and they can improve it a little bit. But overall, the general area is full of all these huge poles with all the overhead wires. So keep that in perspective. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I think if I can capture some of the unease, I think, is that even the most recent addition of an AGF down the street, and we understand that the height's an issue, but even the two of these, if you put them even remotely close to each other, doesn't even look like they're from the same family. And yeah, it is a bit of a hodgepodge. I don't know that adding more to the hodgepodge makes the hodgepodge go away or just make it even worse. So then I would,
for that reason, I was trying to tell them, just look at that other one and maybe you can copy that. I wasn't comfortable myself with it, but they're saying that they cannot copy that one. So
I think we could pick up on that. So so then Master Evanesian, thank you. Applicants, Mr. Siegel, then so we can continue the item and you can take another bite at the apple if you would like, or we can proceed to see if there's a motion to approve this.
Continue it. We'll try to go back to the drawing board and come up with something that's a little more favorable. It is a very difficult area, as we discussed, and we can try our best to come up with some alternative designs to present.
Excellent. So if there is no objection from the commission, we will continue item 6B as in Bravo, the AT&T small cell AGF CYLA 2-024. There being no objection, excellent. We will continue the item. That brings us to streetlights, item number 7, which is our consent portion of the calendar. Mr. Evanesian, are there any notes that you want to bring to our attention for item 7, the street lighting submissions?
No, they're all your straightforward stuff. And I provided the pictures in your agenda for
that. Thank you. Thank you very much. There being no additional comments, is there a motion to approve all of the items in 7, the streetlight submissions?
I'll move to approve.
So moved by Commissioner Scrofano, seconded by Commissioner Gallardo. Excellent. Let's do a roll call. Oh, God, it's so crazy. It's consent. So I guess, if there's no objection, then we approve it, right? No objection, approved. Okay, 7 street lighting submissions have been approved as submitted. That brings us to item number 8. Let's see. I just want to do a time check really quickly. We're all just shy of 3 o'clock. We do have 5 members, so if we, as long as we've got 4, we're good to go. Just a quick check-in. So item number 8, staff reports. Ms. Brazel. There you are.
Sorry about that, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone. I hope that you and your families are doing okay. 9 months into the global pandemic, it has continues to take a toll on our society writ large, and it affects populations and communities disproportionately. And the city of Los Angeles and inside the city family, there is a program that many of you may have read in the newspaper. It is a separation incentive program whereby veteran employees were provided with an opportunity to retire from city service, and that was incentivized. And we have 9 members of our staff that have accepted that. Jackie Cornelius, who has been with us for just about a year, and then, members of our team that have been with the department for 29 years, including Harut. And so I just wanted to thank them both for their service. Before, this is their last commission meeting, and they have you work with Harut and have been working with Harut since your tenure on the commission, and with Jackie as well. So I just wanted to make sure that the record reflects that we are so incredibly deeply grateful for their service and contributions to the landscape of Los Angeles. Through their efforts with the Department of Cultural Affairs, and create an opportunity for them to speak directly with the commission if they're so inclined. So I'll hand it to Harut, who has the seniority of the team, to hand it over to Harut.
Okay, I was under the impression that Jackie is going to be around for the January meeting because she's retiring 1 month after me. And so I was going to hand in everything about commission to her. And then next month she have to turn it to somebody else. Is she not going to be in the January meeting?
Jackie, what's your retirement date? I thought it was at the beginning of January.
She shows at mute. Okay.
Hello?
Hi,
Hello?
Jackie.
Hey, Jackie.
Hi. No, my date is February the 13th.
Apologies. That's my brain. So yes, that will happen. Forgive me, but yes. So Harut, you're correct. I want to just tell you, Harut, that you've been with the city for 29 years, and was really hoping that you were going to stay.
30? 31? What?
36.
31?
36?
35
with
years.
the department for 29, yes?
Correct.
Wow.
Your dad worked for the city.
Yeah.
You are classically trained on the piano, yes?
Amateur.
Amateur.
Amare, I love it. I don't do it for money. I do it for the love of it.
Yeah. You love culture. You love food. You have a wicked sense of humor.
I watch operas every night now with the Met Opera free streaming, 1 opera a night.
Yeah.
Like amazing.
What's your favorite opera, Harut?
Yeah, which one?
Oh, I would say the last few days, they showed a version of Carmen that was done 10 years ago. I watched it 3 times. It was the most amazing. Of course, my most favorite is Marriage of Figaro. So is a lot of opera singers. Their most favorite is Marriage of Figaro. I can listen to that for the rest of my life and nothing else.
Well, what are your plans for retirement?
Oh, I play the stock market, buy Tesla stock.
Oh gosh, staff architect to day trader, huh? Well, if I might just chime in for a moment, like, you know, Harut, you don't remember this, but I remember being a very nervous 20-something-year-old, fresh out of college, with his first presentation to be put together for the Cultural Affairs Commission. I believe at the time, it was down on Spring Street, if I'm not mistaken, or there was an office building on Spring Street that I think I went to help put it together. And you helped me, and I have known you for that long, and I'm not going to say how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. And I felt so blessed to be able to have a chance to work with you again in this relationship now as a commissioner.
So all mine, sir. It's been great working with you with all the stuff, the souvenirs you brought from your trips and the goodies. No commissioner did that ever.
Well, I hope that this is more of a less goodbye and more of a until next time, because I have a feeling we'll find each other again on the other side. And I have to thank you for your life of public service. I'm jealous. I love and adore those that have dedicated their lives to public service. So for you, thank you. And until next time.
It just happened that way, you know. People like get married some last 1 year or month, and the other one like 50, 60 years. Mine was like that. I never intended to spend my life at the city. I moved from Seattle to LA, and I got my foot in the door getting a job.
Seattle.
And just I wanted to leave before 5 years was over, so my contribution to my retirement, I could get it back. But see where I am now. I'm glad
you got vested, and then they got their hooks into you, and you've been here ever since. So the takeaway is that vesting works. If you get if you vest people, then they stick around. Well, thank you, Harut. I think I speak on behalf of everyone, and please, everyone, chime in if you will. I thank you for everything you do. I don't know how we're gonna do the next meeting, but we'll have to figure a way out. But it just will not be good.
I'm really worried about you guys and all the people, the applicants, the streetlight people. I have no idea what's going to happen with those people. I just wanted to say also, I am so happy with every one of you. You're amazing commissioners. You're amazing people. Danielle, I can see Felicia is there. Felicia has been my most wonderful mentor all these years, as my supervisor and a friend and counselor and everything else. She's been really, really amazing. And you know, all of you guys, what you do, and it's been my pleasure, you know, working, knowing that I deal with you guys. You know, it's over the years, you know, I had amazing commissioners all those years, and including you. Like, you're probably the best.
Well, we're gonna miss you.
I'll miss you all, but you know, I'll be in touch when things get normal. I'll stop by, maybe come into
public comment.
Public
comment. I'm telling you.
When there's a nice project, I like to be there. My favorite architect is there. I come with see what Frank Gehry has to say. You know.
Perfect.
Thank you, Harut. Thank you, Harut. An amazing life of city service.
Thank you all.
Yes, Harut, I've enjoyed our brief time together. I think this is my 1 year anniversary.
Oh, wow, already, wow.
So, although
congrats.
just when I get here, now you're leaving. But I couldn't do what I do as a commissioner without staff like you. So thank you. And I just hope that there's some mentee of yours around that will step into to serve like you have. I mean, no comparison, but thank you so much for what you've done. There's
one thing, you know, as far as streetlight goes, Recently, I was fortunate that the guy who's retiring from BSL, he provided me with the list of all the streetlights with their numbered from the how tall they are and what their names are for alphabetically. So in future, you have any problem wanting to see each individual pole in the picture, I had it to Jackie and I said, forward it to all of you. So refer to that. That's a wonderful document.
I looked at it. Yeah, it's got the all of the images, every single one of them. It's all there.
And I never knew that existed.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Ruth, I wanted to add, I have to get off the call, but I wanted to add that I love having you share your story. And I think that everything that's happening in the city, we forget there is a story behind every employee and everybody who serves us. And when Danielle mentioned about your father being here, and you mentioned that you were planning on only being here a couple of years, what brought to light for me is the story and the history that everybody brings with them. And I think the city needs to really honor not just your story, but your father's story, that it all contributed to what the city looks like. So I want to thank you. And when I first joined and I realized that your tone and your sense of humor is the same tone when you're mad, I was like, okay, I get it now. And I love that part about you. And I enjoy coming to the meetings and learning from you. I actually was really giddy that there was an architect like you or somebody that knows that much. I was like, oh, that's really cool for me to learn from. So thank you for that shared experience that you have. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And I wanted to say my motto over the years has been to help out the public, not to give them hard time more than it was necessary or not at all. You know, people, what I loved about my job, and people come and say, you know, they loved working with me all those years, that the way I treated them, the way I went around their project, tried to streamline their, you know, what they're after, you know, because we're all people and everybody's doing something, and they're city officials that I know, and that they're just, I had somebody that I used to work with that was like that. And people avoided that person to just talk to me because they knew they would have a better time of having with their project. So that's been a rewarding thing for me, because even now when people find out that I'm leaving, they're writing to me, that emailing me and texting me, whatever. That was, you know, they loved working with me, and you know how I made their life a little easier. That's the most important thing I think I've accomplished over the years.
Well, I would sort of add to that, because I can say that you know, after working with you for 24 years, that you have grown tremendously in your capacity, you know, leading the commission. When we first started, you know, back at DCA in the 90s, you were part of another architectural division that included both cultural heritage as well as the Cultural Affairs Commission. And it was only in 2004-ish, I believe, when cultural heritage went to planning, that you were sort of abandoned. And, you know, Margie folded you into the public art team. And at that point, you had, you know, the sole responsibility of taking care and leading the commission as, you know, as an independent, as opposed to being part of a team. And you really stepped up and you know, took responsibility for that. And then, of course, you can remember, you know, 24 years ago, architects used to come in with foam core, you know, like just huge, huge boards to make their presentation. And now we've moved into this digital realm. And I know technology can be challenging for us mature people, but you know, you weathered the storm and have, you know, sort of transitioned beautifully into the digital age and working with, you know, with the commission in this new format. And then I think finally, you know, the sort of the other program that, you know, you were responsible for sort of shepherding and leading what is the mayor's design advisory committee. We've gone through 2 rounds of that in terms of working with outside architects to really give a critical read of these architectural projects and you took that, project and that initiative by the helm and kept the architects involved and brought, really good thinking to these architectural designs so that by the time they came to the commission, they had been vetted and sort of thoroughly reviewed. So I've watched you grow into all of those roles tremendously, and you will have tall shoes. There will be tall shoes to fill. It was funny when I was talking to Arun, he gave me a list, like probably a page of notes of things that could, of ways that we can do his work better. And, to your point, John, it's like, oh, now you tell me, it's like, why did you out the door? You have all these ways to, to make it better. But I have your notes, and hopefully we will, find the right person and can impart your some ideas to make improvements. So thank you so much.
Can I just say that thank you for bringing that up, the MDAP, Mayor Design Advisory Panel. Over the years, that's also been one of my most rewarding things for working at the Cultural Affairs. I've learned so much from those people, the top of the top architects and the designers and the planners. And I think we had it better in those days when every single time we had one member present at a meeting, and they always added something, besides they looked at the things at different angle. And I suggest that we continue doing that in the future, depending on what type of projects we have. We invite one if they're willing to come. If there is still an MDAP, I don't know if there is one. Things are crazy these days.
We are going to, and Harut, I sent you a hold for a gathering on January 21st.
Yes,
we hope that you will join so that we can gather as a department and celebrate each and every one of you. We have something coming from you or for you in the mail as well, so you can look for that. And we just want to, we want you to know that your investment in cultural affairs, we will carry the legacy that you have built with integrity and to the best of our ability with skill, since you are the expert in this department. We're really, really excited about this next chapter for you, and we can't see what you do with it. So continue to spread the joy and live the love of your life with opera and music and culture and food and laughter.
Danielle, I just wanted to say my thank yous to you. Over the years you've been here with the Cultural Affairs, and you're such a I mean, you're friends with everyone. You became friends of every employee at Cultural Affairs. I mean, we didn't have any general managers come and share the kitchen and get water there, or get, it's like it was below them. For you, it was you became friends and even and equal with every employee, and I really appreciated that over time. And I could butt in your office and talk to you, ask you something, and it was easy. It was not, I really appreciate what you've done, and you've made all the friends at the commission. I mean, Cultural Affairs. Really
thank you, Harut. Our work is never done, and we will continue knowing that the city is in crisis at the moment. We will weather the storm, and we will get through this. And then culture will continue to be what people hold on to in these moments of both crisis and in celebration. It is what binds us. It's what connects us, and it's what centers so many of us. So let's keep doing that, whether it's in our professional or our personal lives.
Thank you.
And I just
Thank you. Yeah, Daniel's here. Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm late. I'm coming from another meeting, but I just wanted to echo what I heard and what everybody else, what I'm assuming everybody else said too. And the one thing that I have to say, Harut, you are so even keeled. You are never flustered. You know, and some, you know, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that in the way that you present to the commission, you have a conversation, and you always kind of have a little, it's almost like a little bit of a smile kind of hiding in the background as you're talking in a way that makes people feel good around you too. So on a personal note, as we've talked about, I've enjoyed bonding with you about having twins and getting some good advice on a personal side. And, you know, we're really gonna miss you, gonna miss your smiling face and your presence for what we do here.
Daniel, we talked a little bit in the pre-commission meeting, and we said I said my thank yous and how I felt about you as well. And, you know, I loved being around or working with you and all that. And just to let you know, my twins will turn 21 just about a few days from the day I'm retiring.
Wow.
Wow.
They turn 21, then I retire.
You're done.
Mission accomplished.
Exactly. That's true freedom right there.
Only a couple more years, Daniel. Well, Danielle, if there's I mean, I'm probably gonna go out on a limb here on behalf of some of my commissioners and hopefully the whole commission. If there are some expenses associated with that event, whether it be for talent or for something, please let us know. I'd like to have us help underwrite the whole thing. I will commit to that personally. Hopefully everyone else will be along with me to help underwrite that to celebrate the folks that'll be leaving the department. I know it's a tough time right now, but I think we can, on the commission, pull together a little bit to help or to actually put that on. So
that
please
would
let
be
us know.
greatly appreciated, and we will coordinate.
Perfect.
And thank you so much for the offer. I know that will be well received with members of the department.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so I can go into a little bit more of the general manager's report. I will say that the department did submit its fiscal year 21-22 budget request. And we have also submitted a mid-year reduction of 3% for this fiscal year. It ends up being a little bit more. It's Daniel, if you can, since you're here, you can actually give a better number, but
sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this year's reduction was $489,000. And the way we put that reduction together was to really look at what the department's core services are and to make sure that we were able to continue doing that. So that was for this year. Next year, the reduction is a little over $500,000. So that one took some of additional programming dollars, and it also started kind of touching into our expense and operating accounts. But again, we're working really hard to preserve our full-time positions and our salaries, and also the vacant positions, even if they're unfunded, to keep them going forward. And then we're also, immediately after we submitted that, we were then asked to take $40,000 from our contractual services account. So, so we are at both a kind of an initial 3%, and then, as you all can imagine, there's going to slowly start being kind of the chipping away that comes out behind that. So that's where we are at this moment.
Every quarter, the CIO presents to council a financial status report. It's known as the FSR. Yesterday, I think the Budget and Finance Committee reviewed and heard the report It was then heard by council. They are proposing to lay off approximately 1,900 city employees from LAPD, Animal Services, Engineering, and City Attorney. That proposal is being further kind of discussed at the council level, but they did approve the preparations for those layoffs.
Danielle, can I jump in? Just to,
please do.
So yesterday the council approved it. They reduced the number of layoffs to, I think, a little over 800.
That's what it is. Thank you.
And the reason, the way that they came about the layoffs was all of the departments were required to submit 3% reductions. And those were the reductions that it was LAPD, City Attorney, Bureau of Engineering, and Animal Services where the layoffs would come from. And they approved beginning the process tomorrow so that, because it takes personnel department about 6 months to get the whole process in order. So no one would hit the street until close to the end of May. And all the departments that had proposed layoffs were encouraged to submit other reductions that would preserve those positions in lieu of the layoffs.
It's what I think is really difficult, and it's really difficult for the workforce of the city is, it's such a blow to morale. We have, as you know, with, both Harut and Felicia, who are long-term veterans of the department, we almost have a barbell situation with DCA where we have folks that have been, that have over, 10 years with the department. And then we have a period where we literally had no hiring because of the last recession. And then we were able to scale back up pretty robustly with new hires. And so one thing that we're hoping, and we don't know yet, because we don't have any clear direction coming on that front from council or the CAO, but whether or not our vacancy rates will help us absorb any potential layoffs. The SIP retirees are also being taken from our departmental personnel ordinance. So basically, we have to cover both the cost of the SIP payout as well as the positions and forfeit positions that will equal to the positions that we're losing. So as you can imagine, it's a bureaucratic puzzle that is difficult in the best of circumstances when you're working, closely, but doing it remotely is even that much more of a challenge. I want to just echo the resiliency and commitment of the Department of Cultural Affairs staff and team. Our division directors are nothing short of Herculean and extraordinary. And I, of course, am very concerned about their ability to maintain the level of work that they are trying to put out. Everything in the city right now is incredibly difficult, from getting a simple contract through to an ITA request. Scott Bay is on this call. He is also another one who's just been, doing everything possible and just chipping in and lending a hand wherever possible. The SIP retirees will also will decimate our contracting unit. So, patience is really going to be the virtue here, and making sure that we have self-care for employees. I am so grateful that, to my knowledge, at this point, we do not have a high case count within the department, and we continue to work remotely, and I will prioritize employee wellness and employee safety, as well as employee and maintaining jobs. The budget for next year, we really structured it around 3 core strategies and goals. One is advance racial equity through culture, retain cultural sector jobs, and accelerate regional recovery. And so the budget structure is very much focused within those three kind of talking points. I gotta, again, commend the team and all of our division directors and Alma Gibson, our Director of Administration, and Daniel Tarika for pulling it all together. I think it's an incredibly compelling and tight budget proposal. The reality is, without some sort of a stimulus or infusion of cash, the city is now pulling all of its resources from its reserves to the allowable amount from the charter, and is potentially borrowing against future infrastructure projects. Whether or not that will affect our current infrastructure projects is a bigger question. We're trying to get further clarification. And as Daniel had said, you know, we are simultaneously trying to identify new sources of revenue, like community development block grants, community development funds that were rerouted from LAPD, finding alternative ways to borrow potentially against future TOTs, which is not really, I think, a possibility, but we're really trying to do everything possible to be in collaboration and be in partnership and be in conversation with both the mayor's budget team, the CAO, and the CLA. And I will say that, you know, there's receptivity for the ideas that we're bringing to the table. And there seems to be a real understanding of the value that this agency provides. So I would love, just for Daniel, and since Felicia's here, if there's anything else that you'd like to add and share with the commission on this front.
Can I ask a question before they do? Just ever so briefly, I want to make sure I understood something. If I understand the $489,000 cut, that is to your programmatic budget, and in addition to that were your personnel staff cuts, correct?
So I'm happy to clarify that. So the way it's structured, so this year we were required to take a 3% reduction, and that's the programmatic that you just mentioned. Next year, in the upcoming budget, from what we proposed additional programmatic cuts as well as some expense account cuts. So that's the $500,000. Now the other piece, so for every person that is retiring, we lose both the position. So we have 9 positions. So we lose the person and we lose the position. So if we wanted to keep the position, we had to advocate for what were we going to give up to keep the position. So we were able to use our vacant positions to be able to support that. So we are hopeful that that will be received. That's the way to do it. We really don't know. I think given kind of where we are right now, we really don't know how the budget is going to continue to evolve, and we won't know about that for the next several months. But what we know right now is we went from 66 full-time positions, and we're going to be down 65 to 56 full-time positions after April. And it is on the department to figure out how we're going to absorb those responsibilities. So
then, thank you for that. I think then there's probably just 3 other questions that I wanted to just make sure I asked them in case we ran out of time. And that was when you held your core dollars, so the affinity kind of programming that you've done over the years for Asian Pacific Heritage Month or Black History Month, Latino, etc., are those projects going to end up going away as well?
Those were
you
not
guys have
proposed.
produced the annual book.
Those were not proposed for reduction. You may end up in the future seeing an online Heritage Month guide rather than, and I'm just, we haven't even fully really kind of explored this yet, but knowing that we're taking reductions in some of the expense accounts, I think all these things are still in question, but the core monies that we had for the Heritage Month programming have remained.
And then thank you. And my last question was really around legislation and policy. And to the extent that it's not a money-making venture, but that cultural affairs has an enormous voice that it can continue to bring to the table associated with not only the value of art and culture, which all of us are the choir, we get it, but also how it fares as it relates to other entities. So as rules and regulations go into play that seem to allow some businesses to do things that are a for-profit, and ours are the same configurations and et cetera, making sure that we bring to the parties that bear an understanding that a theater is a theater. If you open the door for one, you need to figure out how you open it up safely for one, and that the theater next door, just because it happens to be a nonprofit, should not be closed simply because it is not an AMC. And somehow or another, and I'm not advocating, by the way, I'm not one of those people who pushes for, you just got to open stuff up. We'll get through this no matter how much longer. For a while we have to sit at home. But I am concerned that our nonprofit arts community is not necessarily getting an opportunity to show what it can or cannot do exactly the same way as if they open up the movie theater. And I saw a similar, something like this, somewhat similar when you think about it from the outdoor restaurant business, where a restaurant that could have had outdoor seating literally was next door to a movie company able to put up a catering business because they were going to film a movie. And the answer was they fall under different rules. So this may be a time where our relationships with other agencies might have a real opportunity to get deeper if we try and figure out how to help get through some of these. I know this is on your mind, but I just wanted to put it out there as
Charmaine,
one of the ways we could help.
We are working intersectionally with the county and the cultural working group. All of that will come at the county and the state level. And so we are intersecting with those entities.
However we can help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Excellent.
I just had a question. Sorry about my dog. She was getting really whiny. I think it's because I heard her root.
Why would you apologize?
So, with the big disappointment of the rejection of Proposition 16, are there ways that the city is intersecting or filtering in issues around diversity, equity, and inclusion in the budget and ongoing budget work? Do you know if there's any discussion about that?
We are not. I think that we're waiting for further direction from the mayor's office on that front. We're not stopping. We're not slowing down on our racial equity and our commitment to racial equity work. So that is largely internal, but Aspire is working on an independent assessment of our workforce, our policies, and our practices as it relates to personnel, contracting, and service delivery. So more on that will be revealed. But I think that that is a big question that every racial equity working group in the city is asking of both their general managers and of the mayor. And those are the types of questions that, we keep trying to surface in the midst of, everything.
Thank you.
Do know that I certainly can tell you that the African American commissioners across the city raised this both with the deputies, with multiple deputy mayors actually, several months back, in the context of, as you look at what's going to have to be budget cuts, how are you looking at not making things worse last in is first out, etc. So as Cultural Affairs either sees or identifies, there are affinity groups within that are still meeting that can also bring a voice in the context of sitting with other commissioners. And I believe that both, I think in John's case, and I think Yvonne, you may as well be part of those groups of commissioners that are still meeting. So let us know when you have something for us to say, and we're happy to say it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine. That I'm glad you brought that up, because I know there are efforts across the commissioner affinity groups to come together in solidarity to just uplift issues that are important to our communities. And certainly equity has been a through line for the Latino commissioner affinity group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Danielle? I mean, aside, well, the headline is sounds like buckle up, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
let me just surface. So that's let me hit you with the bad news. But then on the good news front, we have completed the historic restoration of the Watts Towers Art Center.
Oh, wow.
Hi, can we just say
the towers, the Watts Towers.
Like, I'm sorry, Watts Towers, excuse me.
Watts Towers, yes.
Watts Towers.
And that was LACMA. Was LACMA involved in that too? I felt like the last time I saw it, they were just about to close everything down. And gosh, I can't believe it's been 2.5-ish years now, maybe 3 years.
They have been our conservative partner on the project. They will remain in some fashion. We're still working that out, but the 3-year restoration project is complete.
Wow.
And that will end officially on December 31st. The marketing team has done a phenomenal job partnering with emergency management on a program called The Art of Well-Being, lifting up artists from South LA and providing mini commissions. Our public art team, and I'll also defer to Felicia, continue their extraordinary work at LAWA with commissioning the IT Up West and People Mover and major expansion of the airport. They have done an Herculean job at developing, designing, and implementing with our partnership with the Center for Cultural Innovation, many commission programs, which is a COVID relief fund specifically for arts organizations and individual artists. And Felicia, remind me, I think we're on 3 rounds of those types of mini grant programs and commissioning programs.
William Grant Still has a doll show that's going virtual this year for the first time. I was like super excited about that.
William Grant Still is doing the 40th anniversary of the historic, longest running Black Doll show in the country. Lincoln Heights and our other youth arts centers have just finished their fall programming. And I have to just highlight that Lincoln Heights did 26 class offerings, all online, which is pretty remarkable. Daniel, anything else, or Felicia, anything else to add on the great work of your teams?
I think on the community art side, as you mentioned, our centers are all producing classes. The Barnsdall Art Center and the Junior Art Center, which are now under the leadership of Isabella Luderot, who continues to be over the Municipal Art Gallery, is doing classes and workshops. And it's, again, a resilient group within our art centers and continuing to really do great work serving our communities.
And one last thing, but I will say that our performing arts team secured over $80,000 from the contractor, Royal Construction, to do a design curtain, theater curtain for the community. That award is going to be announced very shortly, but here's another moment where we can employ artists and elevate the important role that artists play in actually designing the curtain for the historic restoration of the Vision Theater, which is coming online next year.
Excellent.
Can I add one point to this? Can I just add one point to them and just say that the way that, congratulations on all of that happening. And I know you guys have been just like pulling your hair out to make everything happen. But it was a joy to see the responses back from people when I sent out once notice came to me to send out to people to vote on Vision, and I sent it out to people, and they voted, and then they sent back a note, and they didn't tell me who they voted for because I didn't ask them, I didn't want to know, and they said they voted, and they said, oh, I was really glad to see this. Oh, I didn't know that. So the one thing that it struck me was how that particular approach created much more attention, not only for the agency and what it does, but allowed people to get introduced to communities that they otherwise would not have even been anywhere near. And they were happy to be asked to participate. So I just wanted to tell you that sometimes you're not seeing how much people are actually applauding some things that you're doing. And that was one of them.
I'll definitely share that with our performing arts team.
Excellent. Anything else, Danielle? All right. That brings us to our next item, which is item number 10.
That'll do it for my report.
Excellent.
Mark your calendars. I just sent out an invitation for January 21st. We wanted to do it after things settled down a little bit. We figured it might be a nice moment to catch our breath and look forward to a new year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think usually this time of year there's a little bit of a holiday get together, but we'll just have to forego that this year and eagerly await the next time that we do get to meet in person. With that said, commission announcement and reports, if there is any, doesn't look like there's anything in particular. I would just say also, if you haven't done your holiday gift buying, LA Original is promoting a lot of smaller local businesses, women, communities of color that are making things. If you're so inclined, they're promoting that. So also I've purchased a couple of things.
Please find your way to LA Originals. And then if there's nothing else, can you hear me? Okay, this will be our last meeting of the year. The next time we see each other will be in 2021.
And we want to see all of you.
Yes,
in
please.
person, hopefully soon.
Stay safe and stay well, and everyone.
We will see you all next year, and if there is no objection, we will adjourn the meeting for December 9th, 2020, and see you next time. Everyone, thank you for all of your time and help, and be safe. Have a great holiday season and the end of year, and we'll see everyone soon, hopefully.
Thank you all, and thank you, Jackie.
Cheers.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you, Haru.
Jackie. Cheers.